now to the election and Kamala Harris's first official interview as the Democrat nominee for president. Doug Lazader live in Washington with more on the vice president's plan for a new way forward. Doug.
Todd, good morning. You know, we've been looking for policy details from the vice president, but this was her painting in still pretty broad strokes in her first sit-down interview since becoming a candidate more than a month ago.
One of my highest priorities is to do what we can to support and strengthen the middle class. When I look at the aspirations, the goals, the ambitions of the American people, I think that people are ready for a new way forward. Day one, it's going to be about, one, implementing my plan for what I call an opportunity economy. I've already laid out a number of proposals in that regard.
But Harris had difficulty explaining some of the abrupt reversals that we've seen in recent weeks on everything from electric vehicle mandates and the border wall to her now former opposition to fracking.
I think the most important and most significant aspect of my policy perspective and decisions is my values have not changed. You mentioned the Green New Deal. I have always believed, and I have worked on it, that the climate crisis is real. That value has not changed. My value around what we need to do to secure our border, that value has not changed.
Now, for his part, VP nominee Tim Walz was asked about his assertion that he carried a weapon in war. After never having actually been in combat, he blamed that on an error in his grammar.
Said we were talking about, in this case, this was after a school shooting, the ideas of carrying these weapons of war. And my wife, the English teacher, told me my grammar is not always correct. But again, if it's not this, it's an attack on my children for showing love for me, or it's an attack on my dog. I'm not going to do that. And the one thing I'll never do is I'll never demean another member's service in any way. I never have, and I never will.
As some clips of this interview began to be released through the day yesterday, former President Trump reacted.
It was a tape. We're doing it live. Why are we doing it live and she's doing it taped? But
that's right. He's real.
But she was sitting behind that desk, this massive desk, and she didn't look like a leader to me, I'll be honest. I don't see her negotiating with President Xi of China. I don't see her with Kim Jong-un like we did with Kim Jong-un. So we're going to have to see what happens.
And so much of the focus now turns to Pennsylvania, with Trump heading there today and Harris campaigning there with President Biden in Pittsburgh on Monday.
Recent polls have shown a fifth of Americans can't locate the U.S. on a world map. Why do you think this is?
I personally believe that U.S. Americans are unable to do so because some people out there in our nation don't have maps, and I believe that our education, like such as in South Africa and the Iraq, everywhere like such as, and I believe that they should, our education over here in the U.S. should help the U.S. or should help South Africa and should help the Iraq and the Asian countries, so we will be able to build up our future for our children.
Thank you very much.
Is indistinguishable from Kamala Harris's actual answers yesterday during the CNN pre-taped tire fire with Kamala Harris. New studio, who this? Check it out, baby. We've been out and on the road for a little bit, for a hot minute, and now we are back. We got some fresh drip inside of the studio, and we're going to continue to improve this show, and we do it for you. We love you, and that's why we watched Kamala Harris last night in the most excruciating and painful interview we have ever witnessed. If you can even call it an interview, it was more like an oily massage given to Kamala Harris by CNN, with lots of foreplay. Pretty amazing to see. We're going to break it all down on the show today, August 30th, 2024. Man, has August gone by that fast? Dude, August is like, gone. It's unbelievable. Ladies and gentlemen, Kamala Harris down in flames in nightmare interview. Now her polling is collapsing. We'll cover all of it. Trump responds forcefully to leftist attacks about being with fallen soldiers' families in Arlington. And it shows you exactly how powerful these images were. And we'll be joined actually by some of those Gold Star families. 2 Gold Star parents joined the program today, Mark Schmidt and Christy Shamblin. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. Okay, so last night, absolute train wreck. I don't know. Like, get me an image of a dumpster on fire. That's what I want to show you. I can sum it all up for you by an image of a dumpster in flames, tire fire. You ever seen one of these like countries in the Middle East, and they have they're like, I don't know which country is famous for it, but they light all these tires on fire. This is what happened last night. You can see the tire fires from space. There's like these countries in the Middle East, and they're like a sand pit country, and they're known for getting rid of the tires, the used tires, and they light them on fire. And it's famous because the astronauts in the International Space Station are like, oh, we can see a fire and on Earth, and it's a tire fire. This is how big the tire fires burn. This is a great looking. Look at that dumpster. Look at that dumpster in flames. This was Kamala Harris, and I'll explain to you why. The left is giddy because the bar for leftist Democrat performances on a debate stage is so low that Peter Dinklage, right, would trip on it. Wouldn't be able to get under it. The leftist bar is so low that if you don't defecate in your pants, and we are actually not sure if that happened or not. We do know that Kamala Harris had a secret clear drink sitting underneath her and might have been using an earpiece. We're not exactly sure of last night. And note, you can see that she's clearly looking down and reading something the entire time. Yeah, Kamala Harris was just in shambles. But they're celebrating the fact that she didn't fall down, that she didn't actually physically trip and hurt herself and defecate all over the place. That's what they're celebrating this morning. It's a humiliating. I think practice in journalists' fellatio. Donna Bash, right? I mean, she was misnamed by Kamala Harris, who claims that everybody is so racist for calling her the wrong name. Do we have that clip, Danny? We better have that clip. Then, like Kamala Harris misnaming Dana Bash, mispronouncing her name. I thought that was racist. Yeah. She did her best. You know that Dana Bash's husband signed the Hunter Biden laptop letter from all those CIA spooks? I didn't know that. That Dana Bash is actually CIA spook and an intel asset, and is only there to effectively protect their candidates. And it's important to like take a step back and realize that actually Kamala Harris's stupidity, and we'll show you example after example after example from last night, but her denseness and empty suit on these issues, like the fracking issue. This is unbelievable. This is the best one of the night, maybe. The fracking issue is so good because it just shows she's an empty shell of a human being. She's a husk. There's nothing there. There's no values that tie her down. There's no morals. There's nothing anchoring her at all. She is one of those waveable, inflatable arm men, right, in front of the used car lot. She's one of those people. And she's been totally and completely captured by our intel agencies, and they're running her as a system candidate. The person doesn't matter. All that matters is that they maintain the infrastructure of power, the structures of power that Lisa Monaco and Susan Rice and all of the Obama apparatchiks and everybody who Trump fired, that they all get their jobs back, that they all get their lawsuits settled, that they all keep the federal government belonging to them. It's an important reminder that Kamala Harris was, as a junior senator, put on the Intel committee. Why? Why is Kamala Harris put on the Intel committee? She's stupid, right? You can see that in her Senate questioning. She's dumb, but she was selected. Not elected, selected. Way back when. Kamala Harris knows, and she's known this her entire career, that she does not deserve the station that she has, that she is not worthy of the positions that she is being accelerated into. And maybe not that she's not worthy, but that she's not ready, right? And clearly this was on display last night, that she's being hyper accelerated based on the leftist obsession with intersectional politics and identity politics. And she's being accelerated in these positions for them to try and trick people into voting for her. And in order for that to work, Kamala Harris has to stay as far away from the cameras as possible because she shreds up when she starts talking and when people start realizing how dumb she is. What a liar she is. And so this is the point of Kamala Harris. The point of Kamala Harris is a feature, not a bug. She's there to be stupid. She's there to be an empty husk. She's there to be an empty vessel. She's simply there to be a placeholder, much like Joe Biden was. And actually, the feature is that she doesn't believe in anything. She doesn't stand for anything. She's a totally, wholly, controllable, empty pantsuit. And that's it. And that's what you saw last night. And a system runs people like this. And the system does this in order to survive. It's parasitic. It's grotesque, actually, in its practices. But the system continues. If they can trick people into voting for individuals like Kamala Harris, Joe Biden. And they have to do this through a series of riggings. They have to do this through the corporate press, who they control stem to stern. They have to lie to the American people. In fact, their native tongue is lying to the American people, whether it's about WMDs in Iraq, whether it's about the COVID shots, whether it's about if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor with Obamacare. It's all lies. It's all predicated on one single goal, which is to maintain and keep and engorge more power. Kamala Harris is, of course, there to do that. It will be complete and total unanimity of government. She will keep on every person with who currently serves for Joe Biden, and she will keep the entire government, the rotted, diseased government infrastructure apparatus that has censored Americans, that has persecuted Americans, that has started multiple wars, that has spiraled our national debt, that has crippled our economy, that has trampled your personal rights, your civil liberties. She will keep that going. That machine must continue and carry on. That's the point of Kamala Harris, and it's proven last night. Okay, so this is the easiest way for me. We're going to play some longer clips of Kamala's answers, and we're going to break them down. But here's the easiest way. This is the easiest way for us to actually explain to you what an empty vessel this is. Kamala Harris, who apparently forgot that TV cameras, the internet exist, went onto a debate stage when she was running for president. Remember, she's an intel asset. She was anointed to the intel agency, the intel committee in the Senate. That's like the highest committee you can get on. That happened as a junior senator, immediately. They were priming her and grooming her entire career. This is why she has such crippling anxiety. This is why she looked like such a train wreck last night, because she's not ready for prime time. She's a choker. She's known in the sports world as a choker. Somebody who has a lot of hype in the draft, somebody who has a lot of press and media coverage, and then they hit the big time, hit the big lights, and they collapse right onto their face. They fumble, they miss shots. They're a nightmare. They're a choker. Okay? Kamala Harris, extremely, extremely unprepared for this current moment. And it's clear that what she has, much like Barack Obama, what has happened with Kamala Harris is that the infrastructure, the permanent state, the ghost in the machine realizes that they have a perfectly controllable idiot who tickles the nerves of white left-wing wine moms, and just based on her identity, and that they're going to try and cobble something together. Okay. And based on far less on Kamala Harris, anything about Kamala Harris, far more about Donald Trump, right? Trying to create a contrast with Trump. Well, to create a contrast with Trump, you're going to have to stand for something. Orange man bad is not a presidential policy or platform. That doesn't help anyone. Orange man bad, however, is all that the DNC convention was about. Kamala Harris's vacuous speech, not really about anything. But that's because what was proven last night in this, what was a 50-minute interview, it only aired for 18 minutes. Well, why would that be? It's a 50-minute interview. CNN has 50 minutes of this interview. They won't release the transcript. They edited the answers. We now know this. Kamala Harris is still collapsing in the polls, and they refuse to release the full interview. Release the interview. Then we're going to get that trending today on X. Okay. Here we go. Kamala Harris forgot that TV cameras and the internet existed. Here's why. Because Kamala Harris said this in the year 2019, when you had a very similar Kamala Harris boom and bust. And remember, Kamala Harris had all of this glowing media coverage. She had spiked in the polls. There were a bunch of people who were fawning all over her. She was a really special candidate. Wow. So history, so fresh, so history. This is what they tried to pull in 2020, and it collapsed spectacularly. Kamala Harris didn't even make it to Iowa. They ran Kamala Harris as a far extremist left winger, and here's what she had to say about fracking.
Question: I'm in favor of banning fracking. So yeah, and starting with what we can do on day one around public lands. Right?
We clapped.
And then there has to be legislation. But yes, and this is something I've taken on in California. I have a history of working on this issue. And to your point, we have to just acknowledge that the residual impact of fracking is enormous in terms of the impact on the health and safety of communities. Yeah. So thank you.
Oh, okay. So she's in favor of banning fracking, and applause. We clapped. Yay, we liked it. She loved it. She said it as an applause line. She waited. She paused. She waited for all the adoration of strangers, which, of course, is how you know a true sociopath is the people who obsessively search out for the adoration of total and complete strangers. That's a good image. Thank you, Jamie. Let's make sure we load that one. This is what Kamala Harris had to say last night. The first question, and this is, again, Dana Bash, whose husband signed the Hunter Biden laptop letter, the fake Hunter Biden laptop letter. This is the first question out of the gate. And it's intended to be light on Kamala, but I guess give Dana Bash credit where credit is due. She actually did push this issue. And she said, you've lied about fracking. How do you defend that? Watch.
You still want to ban fracking?
No, and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020 that I would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking.
In 2019, I believe, in a town hall, you said you were asked, would you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking on your first day in office? And you said, there's no question, I'm in favor of banning fracking. So yes. So it changed in that campaign?
In 2020, I made very clear where I stand. We are in 2024, and I've not changed that position, nor will I going forward. I kept my word, and I will keep my word.
Yeah, I can show you why this is happening. I can show you polling out of Pennsylvania. Half of Western Pennsylvania is a fracking job. You ever been out there? I've driven out there a bunch of times. Half Western Pennsylvania is a massive fracking industry. And so this, I can tell you, this is why Kamala Harris is doing this, because there's no path for Kamala Harris without Pennsylvania. So how can you trust somebody like that? You can't find issues like that for President Trump. You can't. She continues to get pressed about this, and here's what she has to say about her values.
Generally speaking, how should voters look at some of the changes that you've made, that you've explained some of here, in your policy? Is it because you have more experience now and you've learned more about the information? Is it because you were running for president in a Democratic primary? And should they feel comfortable and confident that what you're saying now is going to be your policy moving forward?
Dana, I think the most important and most significant aspect of my policy perspective and decisions is my values have not changed. You mentioned the Green New Deal. I have always believed, and I have worked on it, that the climate crisis is real, that it is an urgent matter to which we should apply metrics that include holding ourselves to deadlines around time. We did that with the Inflation Reduction Act. We have set goals for the United States of America and by extension the globe around when we should meet certain standards for reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, as an example. That value has not changed.
What is a deadline around time? It's a really great, easy follow-up, right? This is why I'm so excited for the Trump-Kamala debates. I'm more excited about that than the Joe Biden debates. I'm more excited about that because it is so easy. You just put up the dumpster fire. This is such great. This is good. This is very good. This is very good. There you go. Okay. So a good example of what happened last night. Well, I'm so excited for these debates because unlike Joe Biden, who said we beat Medicare, and there's really no response to that, Donald Trump goes, yeah, he beat it to death. right? There's really no response to that. You can't really argue that. Like, how's it, okay, we beat Medicare. What are you talking about? Like, you couldn't respond to Joe Biden. You can respond to this. It's like so easy. You respond to this and you just be, it's simple. It's shadow boxing, right? Deadlines around time. What do you mean deadlines around time? Please explain. Go.
That the climate crisis is real, that it is an urgent matter to which we should apply metrics that include holding ourselves to deadlines around time. We did that with the Inflation Reduction Act. We have.
Can you see Trump right there? Can you see Trump? Deadlines around time? What does that even mean? What is she even talking about? Donald Trump said something similar with the Joe Biden debates. Like, I'm not sure what he just said, and I don't think he knows what he just said. Deadlines around time? What? Like, it didn't make any sense. It's just not real. It is, Matt Walsh likens it to somebody trying to stretch an essay to 1,000 words in middle school. I can liken it to like I have a 4-year-old, and when she's in trouble, she like tries to give explanations for things that like are clearly her fault and like problems that she caused. And the explanations are winding and always starts with like, well, like there's a, like, so, like you can just tell in the inflection, right? That she's not telling the truth. And this was Kamala Harris. This was Kamala Harris last night. She looked rough. She looked miserable. The optics were terrible. Guys, get me a photo. Get me that like photo of like them at the table. Like the optics were horrible. She looked like she was doing a parent-teacher conference. She looked like she was like had her dad like taking her to a job interview for McDonald's job. She never actually did. The optics are really bad. There's actually really funny. The people are making Kamala smaller and smaller. All right, give me that thread. It's really funny. Let's go through that thread. Here's the good one. Here's the big one. Here's the one from last night that like really hit. Kamala on Joe Biden's decline. So this is like an important question. Why isn't Joe Biden running for president? You seem to have guaranteed the entire nation that Joe Biden was fit to serve, and you did so time and time again. In fact, one time you giggled at the camera and said Joe Biden is very much alive and running for president, which seems to me to be quite the bloody glove in all of this. Like, why would you use that term? Why would you use the term alive? Nonetheless, Kamala Harris last night was actually asked about Joe Biden, how this all went about, Joe Biden dropping out, and why Joe Biden isn't actually the candidate right now. And the answer was insufferable. Watch.
Vice President Harris, you were a very staunch defender of President Biden's capacity to serve another 4 years. Right after the debate, you insisted that President Biden is extraordinarily strong. Given where we are now, do you have any regrets about what you told the American people?
No, not at all. Not at all. I have served with President Biden for almost 4 years now, and I'll tell you, it's one of the greatest honors of my career, truly. He cares so deeply about the American people. He is so smart and loyal to the American people. And I have spent hours upon hours with him, be it in the Oval Office or the Situation Room. He has the intelligence, the commitment, and the judgment and disposition that I think the American people rightly deserve in their president.
Joe Biden is currently on a beach right now. I can give me a status on Joe Biden. Show me. Joe Biden's currently on a beach right now. Now, some people are saying, like, this is funny. Who's actually running the country? And maybe that's just something that we've learned, that we don't actually need a president. Do we actually need a president in this nation? I mean, yes, of course we do. We need the right president. These people are blob presidents, right? Joe Biden has been sitting his ass on the beach and has been doing nothing. By the way, like, who allows themselves to be filmed doing this? Donald Trump has a really funny take on this, but like, why are you allowing yourself to be filmed sleeping on the beach? It's like you knowingly want to denigrate the country. Why are you allowing that? Joe Biden has been sitting on the beach. So he did a week vacation at a billionaire's residence after an entire convention talking about how much they hate billionaires. He does a week vacation at a billionaire's residence in California. Then he's doing 2 weeks in Delaware doing this. doing this. So he's just sitting there in Delaware. Now, many people said this is because Joe Biden's lazy. I think that it's because Joe Biden wants nothing to do with what's happening with Kamala Harris. I think Joe Biden doesn't want to be associated with with Kamala Harris. I actually think Joe Biden has retreated because he knows what a true nightmare this is going to be. And remember, up until his last gasp, his last dying gasp on the campaign trail, Joe Biden was saying that Kamala Harris can't win. In fact, the weekend, the last press conference that Joe Biden ever gave as resident, he sits there and he goes, nobody has shown me that Kamala Harris can win. Kamala Harris can't win. This is what Joe Biden says. And so I think that Joe Biden is actually doing this to run away. He's doing this to retreat. He's doing this because he's scared. He doesn't want to have to answer questions. Like the obvious follow-up question to what Kamala Harris just said there about Joe Biden. What is the obvious follow-up? What's the obvious follow-up? So Kamala Harris just talking about Joe Biden, how great he is. Kamala Harris says Joe Biden is fit. He's beloved. He loves this country. He's so good. He's such a great president. I work with him hand in glove. And Dana Bash is sitting there. Ask the follow-up. The follow-up is simple. Why isn't he running then? Why isn't Joe Biden sitting here doing the interview with me? Why? It's like such an obvious, it's like the job is so easy and it's so simple to be done by Donald Trump when he's across from her at a debate. Okay? It's like simple stuff. This is easy stuff. This is all Donald Trump needs to do. Go, oh, hey, wow. You look different than the last guy I just debated up here. Interesting. And they'll scream misogyny, right? They'll scream no matter what Trump says to her, they'll scream that it's sexist, okay, and bigoted. Trump should do it anyway. Trump should just say, why did you replace Joe Biden? Why was there an old, crusty, decrepit, dementia-riddled white dude here? And now the next debate that we agreed to, because Trump is doing the next debate, September 10th. Now suddenly, poof, look what happened. Why is that? Why did this happen, Kamala? Nobody has ever pushed her on this. Nobody's pushed her on this. Do we have the clip? Give the clip yesterday from Kamala Harris talking about pancakes and when she found out about all this. Do you got it? Yeah, okay. She was kind of pushed about this, and she's like, Auntie, I was cooking pancakes, and Auntie this, Auntie that. It's always like some type of She immediately, whenever Kamala Harris is challenged, people have told her that the laugh creeps people out. So then what they're doing to change the programming is they go to Lifetime, made for TV, autobiographical, where they're like, if you're ever asked a tough question, just giggle and say you were cooking with your family. And it's an immediate deflection. It's actually a tactic that she used yesterday, and it was her entire convention speech. The entire convention speech was her saying, my mama this, my mama that. We don't care how short your mom was. He said this many times. It is irrelevant to the state of the country how short your mother was, where she came from, who she was. We don't care. It is irrelevant to us. And this is what she used yesterday when she was talking about how Joe Biden called her and Auntie was cooking. We got it? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, go.
Here, I'll give you a little too much information.
Go for it. There's no such thing, Madam Vice President.
My family was staying with us, and including my baby nieces. And we had just had pancakes and, Auntie, can I have more bacon? Yes, I'll make you more bacon. And then we were sitting down to do a puzzle.
Okay. You're missing the point of the question. The point was not like pancakes and puzzles. The point was about how did the coup take place against Joe Biden, and why isn't Joe Biden sitting there doing the interview? That was the point of the question. The entire night was just kindergarten level deflections from children. And it says so little, the fact that this interview is getting some praise from the left shows how low the bar actually is. The bar has been lowered to Dante's Inferno The bar has been lowered through the molten lava of the core of the earth for Democrats. And this was the people, some people on the left, obviously being paid by Kamala's team, they are praising this. This is how, what does it say about that, their opinion of Kamala Harris? That like they have to treat her like a toddler. They have to treat her like a little, like a small handicapped child. Right? And like giggling and telling stories. What about the border? She was asked about the border. This one's great. I can't wait for this in the debate. I cannot wait for the debate. I'm licking my chops. Go.
Issue, big one, is immigration. As vice president, you were tasked with addressing the root causes of migration in southern countries and
northern part of Central America.
The northern part of Central America that affects the southern border of the U.S. During the Biden-Harris administration, there were record numbers of illegal border crossings. Why did the Biden-Harris administration wait 3.5 years to implement sweeping asylum restrictions?
Well, first of all, the root causes work that I did as vice president, that I was asked to do by the president, has actually resulted in a number of benefits, including historic investments by American businesses in that region. The number of immigrants coming from that region has actually reduced since we began that work. But I will say this, that Joe Biden and I and our administration worked with members of the United States Congress on an immigration issue that is very significant to the American people and to our security, which is the border. And through bipartisan work, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, a bill was crafted, which we supported, which I support. And Donald Trump got word of this bill that would have contributed to securing our border, and because he believes that it would not have helped him politically, he told his folks in Congress, don't put it forward. He killed the bill.
So the angle here, the tactic here is going to be Orange Man bad. When it comes to the border, they're going to say Orange Man bad. When President Trump proved every second of his administration that executive action can close the border. You know, we were all alive like 4 years ago. The lowest border crossings in human history were done exclusively through executive action. Executive action just can close the border. The day one, Joe Biden rolls back every single border protection that President Trump put in place. Why? These are like simple questions to ask. These are like simple, these are the raconteur. These are like simple ways to shadow box out of an answer like that. So they've all been coached to say that Donald Trump actually killed the border bill, which would have granted amnesty to 10 million illegals. So of course, Republicans are going to be against that. It's like, it's galaxy brain level. A galaxy brain. So they're blaming that. I mean, again, so easy. Just a simple follow-up question from Dana Bash, who like was biting her tongue clearly on all of this. Really? Well, you stopped every single executive act. You rescinded every single executive order on the border on day one. Why'd you do that? Why haven't you closed the border? It's obvious. They want a horse trade amnesty through Congress. They want to ratchet up the pressure. The communists always do the same thing. They want to ratchet up the social pressure, ratchet up the pain for the actual citizens of the country until people just give in. And what the give in is get me 30 million new Democrat voters and a permanent Democrat majority forever, because elections are won by like 40,000 votes. So get me 30 million new Democrat voters. That's how you do it. That's what the point is. And that's what the leverage point is for them on all this. So this, like, it's so one simple follow-up. So I hope President Trump is doing this with Tulsi Gabbard, who he is doing debate prep with. One simple follow-up destroys every answer here. That's all you need. Oh, okay. If Joe Biden's so sharp, why isn't he sitting here today? If you were so good, if it's Donald Trump's fault that the border is a crime scene an international crime scene, human and child trafficking crime scene under your administration. You're the border czar. Why did you rescind all of his policies that secured the border? It's like simple stuff that just immediately fry your brain, right? The fracking question. Apparently the fracking question is actually what sent the interview spiraling. Because Kamala Harris can't answer. She has no answer because she is no one. She's nobody. She is nothing, right? She does everything, every policy prescription, every value, every opinion, every feeling. It's all been told to her. It's all been read into her, right? And so she stands for nothing. She is nothing. And she is a representative. That's the feature, not the bug. She's a representative of a system that wishes to maintain control. And they need somebody that vacuous. Oh, man. The good ones are with the economy. So how do you defend the economy, Kamala? Go.
But I wonder what you say to voters who do want to go back when it comes to the economy specifically, because their groceries were less expensive, housing was more affordable when Donald Trump was president.
Well, let's start with the fact that when Joe Biden and I came in office, during the height of a pandemic, we saw over 10 million jobs were lost. People, I mean, literally, we were all tracking the numbers. Hundreds of people a day were dying because of COVID. The economy had crashed. In large part, all of that because of mismanagement by Donald Trump of that crisis. When we came in, our highest priority was to do what we could to rescue America. And today, we know that we have inflation at under 3%. A lot of our policies have led to the reality that America recovered faster than any wealthy nation around the world. But you are right. Prices, in particular for groceries, are still too high. The American people know it, I know it, which is why my agenda includes what we need to do to bring down the price of groceries. For example, dealing with an issue like price gouging.
She keep looking down. What's going on there? Why she continues to look down? I believe she had notes. Here was the setup. Why is the setup so dark? What's going on here? How small is Kamala Harris? This actually looks like a kindergartner. I think this is an edited one, but it's still really funny. But it's still it's not too edited. This looks very similar to what the actual shot looked like. How small is Kamala Harris? Doesn't it look like a parent-teacher conference? Doesn't look like a dad at Dairy Queen doing a job interview, like taking his preteen daughter to a job interview. It's such a bad look. Why would you choose like some dark back room, like dimly lit in a diner? Is that where all the coffee cups? Where's so many coffee cups? You've raised like billions of dollars. Who decided to do it here? Who's the set designer here? Who chose this location? And you can see there's a hidden cup. There's like a hidden cup under Kamala Harris. Like were they trolling Kamala Harris? Dana Bash put up an image, and you can see Kamala Harris has like hidden cups like under her legs. It's just BT. It's just amateur hour. The whole thing. It's painful to watch. It was indefensible how they answered these questions, and the worst part about all of it was that they didn't even think through the easiest layups, right? So like if I was on their team, obviously you're going to get a question about Donald Trump playing the identity politics game, which he should not play. As we have said many times, Donald Trump shouldn't play because like pig wrestling and don't wrestle a pig in mud. They created identity politics, the left, out of their own sheer racism, and they want Donald Trump to play the identity politics game. So when Donald Trump talks about Kamala Harris's background, that's where they want him, right? So don't do it. And Donald Trump hasn't made that mistake since. But Kamala Harris was asked about that, and she should have had a natural and quick, or at the very least rehearsed answer. Here's what you got.
I want to ask you about your opponent, Donald Trump.
Okay.
I was a little bit surprised. People might be surprised to hear that you have never interacted with him, met him face to face. That's going to change soon. But what I want to ask you about is what he said last month. He suggested that you happened to turn black recently for political purposes, questioning a core part of your identity.
Yeah.
Any
Same old tired playbook. Next question, please.
That's it?
That's it.
That was the closest we got to a cackle. because you could see how uncomfortable she was. Like, at least come up with some sassy comeback or something. You know, like, she's going to get destroyed. Do we have Donald Trump's response on Truth Social? Donald Trump saying, I cannot wait to debate her. Trump saying, I cannot wait to debate Kamala Harris. This is going to be fun. This happens in like 11 days. 11 days, dude. Whoa. Kamala, again, and just for fun, Kamala Harris mispronounced Dana Bash's name. She, again, you're called a racist if you say Kami Kamala or Kami Camilla the wrong way. You're called a racist. Okay, you're like, but here's Kamala doing it herself.
Dana, excuse me. Dana, excuse me.
Okay. A nightmare. And what was JD Vance's official response? JD Vance posted very thoughtfully yesterday a clip of the leaked Kamala Harris CNN interview, and he included a very funny, famous clip from the South Carolina contestant for Miss America, and this actually held really, really true. He said, "This is what the Kamala answers will be during the debate." Do we have that? Okay, toss up that tweet, will you? I want to see what those numbers do. What those numbers do. This is like, so as soon as he makes this joke, JD Vance makes this joke. As soon as he makes this joke, he's accused of racism and sexism. It's like, dude, this is just funny, right? Okay, so what those numbers do? Let me see. So this sucker flew. We got 11 million views for JD Vance, 20,000 reposts, 90,000 likes. Come on, man. Come on. Breaking, I've gotten a hold of the Kamala CNN interview. Here we go.
Recent polls have shown a fifth of Americans can't locate the U.S. on a world map. Why do you think this is?
I personally believe that U.S. Americans are unable to do so because some people out there in our nation don't have maps, and I believe that our education, like such as in South Africa and the Iraq, everywhere like such as, and I believe that they should, our education over here in the U.S. should help the U.S. Or should help South Africa and should help the Iraq and the Asian countries, so we will be able to build up our future for our children.
Thank you very much, South Carolina.
Good for you, JD. We get into the troll game, JD. Donald Trump posting on Truth Social, boring last night, and also again saying he just cannot wait for the debates. But who was the worst performance last night? Well, you'd say, obviously Kamala Harris, right? Even going on for like 40 minutes about how atrocious her responses were. But actually, pound for pound, it was Tim Walz. Tim Walz was supposed to be there as like the adult in the room, right? The guy clearly has clearly functioning, on a potentially like a higher frequency, higher wavelength, higher IQ than Kamala Harris, right? And he's pick Tim Walz as like the emotional support animal, but don't get Tim Walz close to too many animals, especially horses. You know what I mean? Got the guy too excited. The guy doesn't even know what dog he owns, right? He has like multiple photos with like different dogs calling him the same name. Nobody knows anything. Don't get Tim Walz too close to your animals. That's all I'm saying. Okay, that's all I'm saying. Or your children. But those stories will come out later. Tim Walz is, a man who has engaged in hundreds of incidents of stolen valor. And we can say hundreds because he's claimed to be a command sergeant major. That's not his rank. He's claimed that like hundreds of times. He's talked regularly and often about being a Operation Enduring Freedom veteran. He's not. About serving in Iraq and Afghanistan. He didn't. About deploying to war and carrying weapons of war in war. He didn't do that. And he was actually pushed on that and other lies. Now, what should have happened is the follow-up question here. And Dana Bash did ask a simple follow-up question, and look at how frazzled this dude gets. I'm not just frazzled. Look at how devastating it is when she just asks a very simple follow-up. JD Vance is going to gut this guy like a fish. Watch.
I want to ask you a question about how you've described your service in the National Guard. You said that you carried weapons in war, but you have never deployed actually in a war zone. A campaign official said that you misspoke. Did you?
Well, first of all, I'm incredibly proud. I've done 24 years of wearing the uniform of this country. Equally proud of my service in a public school classroom, whether it's Congress or the governor. My record speaks for itself, but I think people are coming to get to know me. I speak like they do. I speak candidly. I wear my emotions on my sleeves, and I speak especially passionately about our children being shot in schools and around guns. So I think people know me. They know who I am. They know where my heart is. And again, my record has been out there for over 40 years to speak for itself.
And the idea that you said that you were in war, did you misspeak as the campaign has said?
Yeah, I said we were talking about, in this case, this was after a school shooting, the ideas of carrying these weapons of war. And my wife, the English teacher, told me my grammar is not always correct. But again, if it's not this, it's an attack on my children for showing love for me, or it's an attack on my dog. I'm not going to do that. And the one thing I'll never do is I'll never demean another member's service in any way. I never have, and I never will.
I just one other question, because again, this is all new.
Yeah.
I mean, this was not however many days ago. This was not on either of your bingo cards, especially yours. You had to clarify that you had said that you and your wife used IVF, but it turned out you used a different kind of fertility in order to have children. And then when you ran for Congress in 2006, your campaign repeatedly made false statements about a 1995 arrest for drunk and reckless driving. What do you say to voters who aren't sure whether they can take you at your word?
Well, I've been very public. I think they can see my students come out, former folks I've served with, and they vouch for me. I certainly own my mistakes when I make them. The one thing I'll tell you is I wished in this country wouldn't have to do this. I spoke about our infertility issues because it's hell, and families know this. And I spoke about the treatments that were available to us that had those beautiful children there. That's quite a contrast in folks that are trying to take those rights away from us. And so I think people know who I am. They know that record. They've seen that. I've taught thousands of students. I've been out there. And I won't apologize for speaking passionately, whether it's guns in schools or protecting of reproductive rights. The contrast could not be clearer between what we're running against. The vice president's position on this has been clear. And I think most Americans get it if you've been through that. I don't think they're cutting hairs on IVF or IUI. I think what they're cutting hairs on is an abortion ban and the ability to be able to deny families the chance to have a beautiful child.
What a piece of garbage, this guy. What a piece of garbage. I didn't serve in the military, but I got so many military members in our family, our friend groups, so many people who served this country honorably, watch the show, write us every single day. And we need to be their voice. And we need to stand up for these people. And we need to defend them from the indefensible, which is this. This is Tim Walz. That's him right there in the photo, holding up a sign that he drew, clearly a handmade sign that he took a marker out and wrote the sign himself. It says, "Enduring Freedom, Veterans for Carry." Enduring Freedom is the name of the operation that deployed to Afghanistan and fought. Many died in the fields and mountains of Afghanistan. He said that it was a grammar mistake. Oh, shucks. Hey, boy. I'm a big dumb old Midwesterner. You see? Me no speak good. Me no say good. Me no say good words. Yeah, okay, dude. It's like, yeah, Simple Jack, right? Out of Tropic Thunder. He pulls the Simple Jack answer. Okay. So he went full. He went there. But the amazing thing is, you can't say it's a grammar error when you wrote it on a poster. There it is. Is that a grammar error too? How about the 100 times where you called yourself a rank that you are not? How about abandoning your troops? You know, he spent all this time in the National Guard. He was very senior. There's all these young guys. They were going to war. put this in perspective. I asked military members in the audience, like, what this is like. And I got a ton of emails over it. And one said, this is like taking your family and taking your children and dropping all your children and your wife off at the orphanage, right? Divorcing your wife, dropping your kids off at the orphanage, and driving away. This is what Tim Walz did to his unit in the National Guard, because they were going to war and he abandoned them. And he was supposed to be their leader. He was supposed to be a dad. He was supposed to be a father figure, somebody that the younger men look up to. And he abandoned them. And he lied about it again and again and again. And I think that J.D. Vance is going to do a number on this guy. And it's got to be pretty excruciating, the lies about service members, because service members died, right, in that unit that deployed. Tim Walz, as soon as he heard gunfire, ran the other way and abandoned his team. And military men and men of honor know this. Some families know it more than others. Some families have understand what the true price of deploying to war actually is. Joining us on the program live now is Christy Shamblin, who's the mother-in-law of Sergeant Nicole G., who lost her life in Afghanistan at Abbey Gate when the Biden administration ordered effectively a suicide mission for American military in their chaotic pullout of Afghanistan that led to the death of her daughter. Ms. Shamblin joins us now. It is an honor to have you on the show, Ms. Shamblin. I'm, there's quite a bit to cover here because this has been a topic that's been in the news, but I want to start with this Tim Walz interview. I think perhaps you could have heard the clip and maybe you watched it last night, but what's your response to a man who has engaged in stolen valor time and time again in order to advance his political career off the backs of the men and women who actually did suffer in war?
Thank you so much for having me. I did see that interview, and I just am always struck how they can spin things around. I mean, there are clear facts here, and he left his unit and came back to run for Congress, and that's not what the military, it's not how the military is supposed to work. So it's hard. I appreciate everybody's service that they do give. And I think that it's good enough to give that service, and you should be proud of that.
Yeah, but he's not proud of it. He's lied about it. And nobody's trying to denigrate what is true. It's just that Tim Walz seems to have made up an enormous amount of his service in order to accelerate his political career, and accelerate it he did. Yet he's saying last night that it was a grammatical error, that it was a grammar error when he did this hundreds of times. Do you buy that?
I don't, not at all. When I'm a military mom, I've not been to boot camp or been enlisted, but I know for sure rank is how you identify in the military, and you don't make a mistake about that. And it's very clearly outlined when you accept rank, what your expectations are. So I don't believe that.
I mean, you're obviously from a military family and you know a lot of military members. The stolen valor is one of the most egregious things that, one of the most egregious societal crimes, social crimes that you can commit against someone, against the military community. Do you know anybody who's supporting Tim Walz or thinks that this is okay? Permissible?
I do not. Nope, I sure don't.
Yeah.
Everybody I know thinks of, military rank as something to be earned and respected, but you have to earn it.
Yes. And as final question on Tim Walz here, but your daughter deployed to actual war zones in Afghanistan. She went and fought and gave her life for this country. Tim Walz regularly says that he went to war. He didn't. He regularly claimed to be veterans of wars in Afghanistan, but he didn't deploy to Afghanistan, nor is he a veteran of the war in Afghanistan. He even made posters about claiming these things and wasn't that. In fact, when the gunfire started, he ran the other way and abandoned his troops. It's got to sting a little bit with somebody with your background, witnessing a man like within a heartbeat of the commander-in-chief role who has that background.
Everything about the Harris campaign and administration is heartbreaking for me. They do not respect our military. They do not respect our veterans. And I think that this is a primary example of that playing itself out.
Yeah. Well, what would be your message to Tim Walz if you were to meet him?
Be proud of the service you gave. And, you know, be honest about that. Be honest about the administration that you're campaigning for and the fact that they do not support our veterans. They do not support our military or our wounded, our fallen. They just don't support them.
Yeah. Okay. So we saw something fascinating this week. Maybe not fascinating, but like excruciatingly painful. President Trump showed up, and he has shown up for the Gold Star families, the Abbey Gate Gold Star families. We've spoken with many of them on the program. He regularly calls, sends signed hats, brings people on stage. I know that you spoke at the RNC, for instance, and that's an honor, and it's something that would only be granted to people who respect you. Did you get any invitation, by the way, to speak at the DNC?
No, sir. No, we still have never had any direct communication or response from the White House or the Harris administration since this tragedy happened.
So Kamala Harris, who claims to be the last person in the room with the decision to suicidally pull out of Afghanistan, leading to the death of your daughter-in-law, she's never contacted you?
Nope, not one bit. She was not at Dover Air Force Base to welcome our children back stateside. And we have had zero communication, not even a form letter from the Harris administration.
But she's bragged much like Tim Walz, she's bragged to the media about how she was integral in that process. So you'd think she'd bear some response. She wants the responsibility. She wants the glow of any successes, but she seems she's not bearing the responsibility of the failures.
I think that speaks pretty clearly to the type of person she is, and if she's elected, she's not somebody who's truthful about what's happening.
So this week, President Trump got some pushback for appearing at Arlington National Cemetery to honor the families, your family included, and to lay a wreath. And this is something that is normal for a president to do. It's something very, very normal for a high-level politician in America to do. Yet he's being criticized for it. Can you speak to this?
Absolutely.
Apparently there's some type of controversy for this, which the controversy for me, just stepping back here, is people who didn't show up, right? Wouldn't it be that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden were nowhere to be found?
That's my feeling exactly. Our families invited President Trump to our children's grave sites. We participated in wreath laying ceremonies with him. And then afterwards, he accompanied us to our children's place of rest. And he spoke with family members. He didn't speak much. He listened. And, you know, everybody in our family who wanted to share a story was able to do so. He laid flowers by my daughter-in-law's grave. It was very honorable and respectful. And we were happy to have him there honoring our children. It was beautiful and respectful. I didn't see any altercations. You know, I can only imagine that it's something that is being blown out of proportion, or, you know, to make him look bad. And they can't make him look bad by his actions, because he's here laying flowers on our fallen's graves. So they're going to try something else.
Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were invited. We know this. It's been reported. And they didn't show up. What does that say to you?
The same thing their administration has said this entire time. They do not care. They believe our children were disposable, and they have no regrets. They would do it again. And I know my daughter-in-law would do it again, but she would do it again for all the right reasons. These people have done this and would do it again for all the wrong reasons.
So can you speak to your the differences between the way you've been treated by Kamala Harris and President Trump? I'm sure you have some personal anecdotes.
Yeah, you know, we've had, again, zero contact from Kamala Harris. We don't exist. Our children were disposable. Our troops are unimportant, and we don't exist. The only communication, or the only, I guess, they alternately go from ignoring us to calling us liars. They say that we've lied about Biden checking his watch. And, these are things that these people weren't at. I was there. After the third time he checked his watch, I saw red. So I know he checked it more than 3 times. Just like this event at Arlington, there weren't a press pool of photographers at the grave sites because we did get the proper clearances, and we do respect Arlington. It's where our children rest. But somehow it has been twisted into something that was disrespectful, and that's just not the case.
We have like the photos of, it's remarkable that they tried to lie about this. It's like really is the sort of banality of all evil. Like photographs exist. And we talked about Kamala Harris and her fracking answer. It's like, the cameras were running when you said this stuff, but they wish to lie and then call you a liar when you actually witnessed it. You actually witnessed it happen. You were on the tarmac here.
Yes, sir.
Did you get a chance to speak your mind to Joe Biden?
No, sir. My son was an active duty Marine at the time, and we were accepting the condolences of his commander in chief, and that's what we did.
And if you got a chance to speak to Joe Biden now, since clearly nobody's running the country and he's just sitting there on vacation, not too far away from Dover, lounging on the beach, what would you say to him? You walk by Joe Biden, he's sleeping on the beach, he wakes up. What would you say to him?
I'm so sorry that nobody has taken care of you for the last few years. He was not altogether with it when we met him at Dover. And so that was 3 years ago. For 3 years, I think that this man has been in need of help. And instead of being helped, he's been kind of tossed aside. I feel bad for him. I do.
Yeah. So we have this beautiful photo of your daughter-in-law, Nicole G. I'm sure those who are familiar with the show, familiar with perhaps this photo of her with this beautiful child, holding this child. She seems like a lovely person, and she seems like somebody who, you like had nothing but like the biggest possible heart. Yet you say that Nicole's life was disposable. Kamala Harris viewed her as disposable. What would you say to Kamala Harris? What would you say to like members of the armed services, like other parents who have children in the armed services right now? Kamala Harris is pretty. We don't want it to happen, but the polls are tight. She may become president. It's not. Can't count that out. It's got to be terrifying for you. It's got to be awful.
Absolutely terrifying. It's like waiting for the other shoe to drop all the time. They do not value our armed services. And I can tell you, I go to Washington, I go to DC, I go to the hearings because we've lost one of the best people we ever knew. And I don't see many Democrats show up, if any. Sometimes it's only one. And we have to change that. Our armed services are important to our freedom as a nation. And our armed service members don't ask what your political affiliation is before they defend you. They defend you because you're American.
Yes. So sort of a parting word here to President Trump. Obviously, I assume that you want President Trump to become president again. And your message, so like 68 days from the November election, and you've lost the most anyone can ever lose in life. A parent losing a child, there is no more excruciating pain on this earth. I hope to, frankly, I hope to never feel it. And I think every parent does. But you must have quite a profound desire to see President Trump become the commander in chief, and a message maybe perhaps to all parents out there.
Absolutely. I have come to know him and respect him. He's somebody who's being portrayed in an inaccurate manner in the media. I would say, look at his record, look at what he does for his employees, look at what he did for this country when he was elected. And we need to go back to that. Nothing hits me quite as close to home now as when he says they're not after you. They're after him, so they're not after you. And I feel that way now too. Like if they're going to come attack Gold Star parents, who aren't they going to attack? And why? You have to ask yourself why, because there's a reason.
Yeah, I guess the reason is because they have there's no basement here, right? Like Nothing is sacred. This isn't sacred. President Trump laying a wreath at your children's grave. Like, you can't stay away from the visceral politics, even in this moment. You can't just like turn it off and like chill and just let like a man do a good thing. You invited him, right? Like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
He cleared time in his schedule to pay respects to all three that were lost on August 26, 2021. And he made sure to make time for each and every family and each and every one of them, that had passed on that day on the anniversary. And it was full of respect and honor. He didn't make he didn't talk much. I don't think I heard him say, more than a couple words. He was listening, and it meant the world to our families. It really did.
And Kamala hasn't even contacted you. Not even a letter. Wow. Well, that should say it all, right? If you're listening, that should say it all. We thank you so much for speaking with us today. It's obviously got to be very painful, but telling these stories, these are the most important stories for us to hear, right? Because Commander-in-Chief has got to be is the most important job of the president.
Exactly. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Christy. You gotta speak the truth, right? You gotta speak the truth. They are literally coming after Donald Trump for this is how much they hate anything that is decent and good in this nation. Like, they are coming after President Trump for showing up for families like that. You just heard it there, live. They're coming for Trump because he showed up for Gold Star families. That's where we've gotten to here. And Kamala Harris, who has bragged about being the person in charge in Afghanistan and in charge of the slaughter of these 13 Americans and many others, she hasn't even contacted her. Wow, it's disgraceful. They view our families as disposable. Whew, man. Whew. Isn't that it's like demonic, right? Satanic. It's evil. It's right. It's like viewing people as not people. It's very Marxist in nature. It's very communist in nature. You read the Communist Manifesto, Karl Marx. Like, it's very like in at its core, like, you take away the humanity out of the human being. Right? You're a number on a ledger. You're just human soup, right? To be run through whatever machine it is. Whether you die in the factory, you die in the gulags, you die on the battlefield, you're just a number, right? Oh, it's awful to hear. Oh, it's terrible. And communist Kamala, I mean, when we say commie Kamala, it's like laugh, it's salty, it's fun, but it's also like true that she does believe this. And you heard it there. You heard it here live on the show. Like, she does view Americans as that. She views if she views our veterans as that who died in Afghanistan, like, how does she view you, right? Who's the joke actually on? Man. Well, maybe the joke is on Kamala. Got some interesting polls here. Apparently, Kamala has received 0 bump in the poll. She's received 0 assistance from the entire propaganda branch of the DNC, running like a Kamala ad effectively for her for 4 straight days. Nobody knows anything about her. Nobody said anything about her. It's just the same dumb story about her mom every single time. Like, that's fine. Tell stories about your mom, like, at high tea. But don't, like, you're not allowed. Like, this is the presidency of the United States of America. And then they talk far more about Donald Trump than they did about Kamala Harris. The polls are now showing that Kamala Harris receives 0 bump, and that Donald Trump is up by 5 points in some polls. And that some of the snap polling after Kamala's disastrous interview last night is actually showing Donald Trump up by even more. So we'll see. We're not one for hopium and copium around here, right? We're not trying to lie to you. But we'll show you the harsh numbers. Boys, I thought this would be Nate Silver's polling. So let's jump in on that. Okay, please. Nate Silver polling show now that the betting markets and the smart money is favoring Donald Trump. The swing state polling is kind of like back and forth, but I don't believe in the scientific way that they've performed these polls you can see there was like a marked polling change once Kamala Harris became the nominee by certain pollsters, over-indexing for Democrats, over-indexing certain demographics, and like attempting to create like this mirage of like this Kamala wave, which is not true. President Trump, last night, this is what his crowd looked like in the swing state of Wisconsin. That's inspiration. Look at that.
It's a great country, but we have to take it back.
Well, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Nate Silver saying that the fundamentals of the race remain unchanged. The fundamentals of the race is that Kamala Harris is deeply unpopular and her policies are deeply unpopular. Kamala Harris was the least popular vice president in American history. Dick Cheney shot people in the face. He was more popular than Kamala Harris. And that Donald Trump has retaken the lead in the likelihood of a presidential election victory. Nate Silver, of course, the darling of left-wing pollsters, and is, causing enormous panic attacks on the left with polling like this. But it's true. And it's excruciating to watch what they are capable of. What they're capable of is like doing things that not even CNN can like help, but savage. And so this was CNN. This was as hard as they went on Kamala last night. CNN fact-checking Kamala Harris, something very, very rare. Words I never thought I'd say, actually. But they ended up trotting out their little fact-checker to talk about Kamala, and specifically on the fracking issue, which is a very, very dangerous issue because Kamala Harris is down by a significant margin in Pennsylvania. This fracking issue is a huge one in Pennsylvania. Here we go.
The fact check bottom line, Abby, is that she did not actually make clear at a 2020 debate that she had changed her previous support for a fracking ban. So let me take you through this kind of saga. So here's what she said at a CNN climate town hall in 2019 on the subject of a fracking ban.
Will you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking your first day in office, adding the United States to the list of countries who have banned this devastating practice?
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So, yeah.
That was quite clear. So she ended her 2020 presidential run in December 2019. The only debate she participated in 2020 was the general election debate with then Vice President Mike Pence. And I went over the transcript of that debate tonight. Nowhere in there does she make clear that she had abandoned her previous support for a fracking ban. Rather, she repeated that Joe Biden, the head of the Democratic ticket at the time, would himself not ban fracking. So listen to what she actually said in that 2020 debate.
Joe Biden will not end fracking. He has been very clear about that. I will repeat, and the American people know, that Joe Biden will not ban fracking.
So it makes perfect sense that at the time she was speaking on behalf of Biden, the president, not the vice president, sets administration policy. But maybe other people feel differently. I certainly did not hear anywhere in there Kamala Harris saying that she personally had abandoned her previously expressed 2019 view. Rather, again, she was speaking for Joe Biden.
Gentlemen, it's amazing, amazing how this happens. It's amazing how this happens when we talk about particularly sensitive topics on the program. Suddenly, the internet goes out at the show. Isn't that curious? This was one of those exciting little moments. So the internet was on. The internet just kills inside of the studio, which is, of course, something that we do not want to happen and is very, very frustrating. And we're going to give it our level-headed best to ensure that it doesn't happen again. Now, we have just done sort of a total and complete reboot of the studio. And so perhaps there are some ghosts in the machine, as we call them, that popped us offline there for a second. So we apologize, and we will do our best to hunt those down, because we don't like being offline, and you shouldn't either. We appreciate you for sticking around for those 60 seconds of our 60 seconds of our technical difficulties screen. The internet that we use to run the actual program, I got to tell you, I'm not going to dox the company. Although if we find out that it is actually the internet provider, the internet service provider, I will dox the company. But unfortunately, we do not run our program inside of the studio off of an internet service provider, Patriot Mobile. Patriot Mobile is what we use for our cell phones. When we are using our cell phones, we're out on the road and we're at the DNC live for a week or at the RNC live for a week. We're locked in with Patriot Mobile, and we are crisp and clean and clear on our signal. This is why we use Patriot Mobile, because we do exit the studio and rock and roll from the field. Ladies and gentlemen, I encourage you to go sign up for Patriot Mobile as well. Go to patriotmobile.com/Benny, call 972-PATRIOT. Right now, get a free month when you use the offer code Benny. Their 100% US-based customer service team can help you switch today. Right now, get a free month when you use the offer code Benny. patriotmobile.com/Benny. Okay. Again, we apologize for the technical difficulties here. Internet service providers in the studio, not Patriot Mobile. We're very happy that our cell phones actually are Patriot Mobile, and we lock and load and rock and roll. So let's jump in here. The Benny Brigade questions of the day. We did not have a show last Friday, so we can just jump into our brigade questions here. Britta Evans says, "Hi there. Just saying congrats on the latest addition to your family. I pray for you often. Your fans miss you, but your family needs you more. Looking forward to the morning show. God bless you, dear," says Britta. Thank you, Britta. We announced that we are having our fourth child this weekend. We have baby announcement photos. I don't know if we have. We got those? Yeah. And I mean, it's like, what else? What else can you say about this? This is like this is life. This is like there is no greater motivator for any man on earth than having a family, coming home to beautiful children, having them run into your arms, and embracing them. This is my motivation in life, and I'm very clear about it. And the purpose of this show and this entire company is actually ensuring that I leave this nation, which I will. I leave this country to my children in a better state than I found it. And that is our driving motivator. And so we also wish to have as many children as God will give us. Don't tell my wife that. This is baby number 4. So doing our part to ensure that mankind continues on, right, beyond replacement. Kayla Hinner says Trump should do another live interview with Tucker. We would love that. The last one he did, I think, was like quite a while ago. It was like during the Fox News debates, almost a year ago. Was last Tucker Carlson Donald Trump interview, and there were like 8 other Republicans running for president. Trump was skipping the debates, which turned out to be extremely wise. And he did a live interview with Tucker and broke the internet. And we totally agree with that, and we hope that he does. John Katterberg says, Benny, I've joined the brigade. What's the best way to find the most recent updates and posts on our website? You can click on the brigade section of our website. We can show you how to do it actually right here. You click on the brigade section of our website. You either join or log in up there. You log in, and that is the up-to-date content and also the exclusive content. So that's how it's done, right? And that's the best way we figured out how to do it. And we appreciate so very much John, Kayla, and Britta for supporting us here. If we endeavor to never leave you again. we wanted to take like a few. We wanted to take like a few days just to peace out with the family and to celebrate the new edition, and also to celebrate sort of a miracle in our family. And we view you as family as well, and so we celebrate with you, right? We want to make this public. This is a public movement. We want to save the country together. And the way we're going to do it, we're going to do it through the power of God. And this is why our verse of the day is so very important. From Psalms 38. Psalms 34:8. Taste and see the Lord is good. Blessed is the one who takes refuge in him. This was exactly what we were doing for the last couple of days, taking refuge, getting our hearts and souls sort of realigned, and hitting the ground running, ladies and gentlemen. We thank you for hitting it with us and running with us. And man, Donald Trump Kamala debates, an entire wild week ahead of us. Next week, back in the saddle with a brand new studio and maybe a new internet service. It's your boy Benny. See ya.
Recent polls have shown a fifth of Americans can't locate the U.S. on a world map. Why do you think this is?
I personally believe that U.S. Americans are unable to do so because some people out there in our nation don't have maps, and I believe that our education, like such as South Africa and the Iraq, everywhere like such as, and I believe that they should, our education over here in the U.S. should help the U.S., or should help South Africa, and should help the Iraq, a little Asian country, so we will be able to build up our future for it. Thank you very much.
The story of young Kamala rode a donkey from Tijuana, met a man, Willie Brown, deep in the bowels of California. Nice to meet you, nice to know you. Would you like fries with your order? Come a bit closer. I got something I want to show you. This is my spatula, this is my apron. My name is Kamala, you know what I'm saying. Cat, 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 I load the pallets in the back. Golden arch, I'm a whack. Oh, Willie, you made a mess. Think fries are done, think fries are done. Oh, what have I done? I just needed a job. One day I'll become a lawyer. Think fries are done. One day I'll be a lawyer. Think fries are done. One day I'll be a lawyer. Think fries are done. One day I'll be a lawyer. This to meet you, nice to know you. Would you like fries with your order? Come a bit closer. I got something I want to show you. This is my spatula, this is my apron. My name is Kamala, you know what